Hello there, all of you CVers that we don't get to see these days. It makes me really sad. I miss you guys. Dave asked me to join this world of recording our talks, and he asked me to speak to you on anxiety. I think that's probably pretty appropriate right now with all that we're going through and all of our worries about school and jobs, the economy, our health and safety, not being able to see the people that we care about, worries about people we might know that are really pretty sick right now. There's a verse, Isaiah 57:15 of Message, and it says, "From the high and towering God who lives in eternity, whose name is holy, I live in the high and holy places, but also with the low-spirited, the spirit crushed. And what I do is put a new spirit in them, get them up and on their feet again." I really like that verse. Recently, I would say within the last 6 months or so, I've become very interested in just this idea of anxiety from studying it from a biblical standpoint. We've been seeing so many more college students experiencing that fear, depression, and an increase in the intensity of how it manifests in words and behavior. And so I've lumped my study into multiple terms and into one topic. Words like fear, anxiety, stress, despair, dismay, hopelessness, panic, doubt, sadness, depression, feelings of troubled, being troubled, discouraged, downcast, worried, overly upset. There are a lot of terms that have some real similarities, and so I'm going to talk about those. In studying this and then writing on it, I did research on reading some papers, doing some pretty deep Bible study on different words that are tied to this concept, speaking with professionals, going to workshops, and then I lumped it all together and wrote on it. Ended up being about 16 pages long, if you include the appendix at the back of it. If you would like that, at the end of our talk, I'm going to put my phone number if you don't already have it, and you can just text me your email address and I'll send you that. You can read it whenever. And I'm going to be hitting and touching on quite a few of the things from that paper, but not in any near the depth. But even so, it's going to take about 20 to 25 minutes to actually do that. And so Dave asked me to divide it up into 2 weeks so that these are shorter. Today's probably going to be like 12 minutes-ish. And then next week, I'll get into some different aspects of it, more of the scripture and that kind of thing. So one of the first things I looked at was a sermon I had taken notes on, and he was talking about the causes and then the cures for spiritual discouragement. And he said that there are probably, well, he listed 5 general causes, but mentioned that there were probably quite a few more. The first one he talked about was temperament. So we need to know our personality or the people we're helping. Introverts, perfectionists, dominant feelers, they're going to have more struggle with discouragement. Physical conditions can result in that. If you experience chronic pain. His third mentioning was called the Elijah complex. It comes out of 1 Kings 19. This idea that we have these spiritual highs, mountaintop experiences, but then we go down in the valley, and that's where we experience all of the panic or depression or anxiety. And his fourth one he mentioned was Satan, our adversary. Ephesians 6, from about 12 on to the end of the chapter, it talks about spiritual warfare, and that's a big one that gets us down. And then the last one he mentioned was unbelief, that a lack of belief can result in not experiencing miracles or encouragement or God's rest. Those ideas come from Matthew 13:58 and Hebrews 3 verses 12 through 19, if you want to look those up. So the cures that this pastor mentioned, cures in quotations, because I think, you know, experiencing total cure for discouragement and depression, I don't know, not sure if it happens, but we can help. And one he mentioned was the idea that we need to learn to talk to ourselves instead of listening to ourselves talk. So don't let those inner voices sway your thinking into believing lies, and speak truth into your own life. The second one was to take control of your mind, taking your thoughts captive, set your mind on heavenly things. That comes from Colossians 3, the beginning of the chapter, and then in 2 Corinthians 10:5. The fourth one that he mentioned was the idea of affirming truth. Isaiah 26:3 says that God will keep in perfect peace the person whose mind stays on him because he trusts in God. So Christ offers his peace if we keep our minds and our trust on him. The next one was the idea of remembering, consistently reminding yourself of what God has done and how he's remained faithful. The last one that he mentioned was to ask God for a sign, that he will provide reassurances of his presence, healing. And one quick example, an obvious one, would be the rainbow. Genesis 9:13, he says, I place a rainbow in the sky as a sign of my promise. So I told you we talked to some professionals. Dave and Megan and I went and spent about an hour with counselors at Casper College, and they gave us a lot of neat ideas. They definitely are seeing an uptick in the same concern like we are, and they wanted to know what we're doing. We told them, and they told us. And another thing that they did was give me an article called Make Peace with Your Anxious Brain by Barbara Paulson. And I'm just going to share a couple of things that come out of that article. The National Institute of Mental Health in 2018 said that about 1 in 5 Americans have had an anxiety disorder within the last year. That's crazy high. Quote from that article: to understand anxiety, you've got to start with fear, because anxiety is like fear run amok. And we can wire our brains to become overly anxious. There's a constant barrage of low-level stress and alarm that's going on all around us all the time nowadays. And as creative, imaginative thinkers, it stresses us out. The article talked about different kinds of treatment: cognitive therapy, behavioral therapy, medication, which they said is not the best option for long-term. Relaxation, something called mindfulness, which is purposefully paying attention to your experiences as they occur in the present moment without judgment. One patient said it as, I started talking to my anxiety. That kind of reminds me of what we mentioned earlier about talk to yourself instead of listening to yourself talk. The author apparently also has dealt with this problem, anxiety. She said, it helps me be more compassionate with myself if I use mindfulness. It reminds me to trust other people. And I would add that anxiety could, more importantly, help and remind us to trust God. And the last idea in the article was breath-focused meditation. And I think for the Christian, this could translate to time in prayer. All right, I'm going to give you some activities that you might try. I'm just going to summarize them real quickly right now because they will be on a handout that we give you. We're going to give you a link at the end of the talk, and next week again on to a Google Docs folder that will have some things in it. And one of the things is just some activities that you might try. One of them would be to take a set of predetermined verses, and then you're looking for how God responds to our stress, and you're writing it down and praying over it. And all of these are more explained in the handout. Second one is to read the 23rd Psalm, look at God's promises and his blessings. Another one is to take really powerful Bible verse on anxiety. I'm going to show you here, and make word art out of it. So with this one, I used markers, and I just took a verse that was meaningful for me and wrote it out prettier than normal. You could use poster paper or really thick, heavy paper. You could make one for someone else. Here's another one I did. And so just picking a verse, and this one I used watercolor, and you can add some design to it too and make it more interesting. Another idea would be to use the devotional method of Bible study and study a passage that deals with anxiety. The fifth one that I have in that activities list on the Google Docs is to study, and I'll give you about 5 verses, and do this together with someone else, and then discuss it and talk about it in a certain framework that is explained in there. And then another one is to take a psalm that was written by an author that was experiencing some ongoing feelings of great despair and discouragement, and just how he was feeling, thinking, and writing and discussing that. Another one I'll give you that's not on the handouts was a reminder from Dave, and that is that we need to be getting outside, or when all this social distancing and staying home order is gone, going to a gym and getting exercise 3, 4, 5 times a week or every day. Do it with a friend. Make sure you're eating healthy. Don't just eat junk food. Get enough sleep. Stay off your devices late in the evening. Just those simple things can be very helpful and lead to better feelings and not as much anxiety. Okay, that's all I'm going to talk about today. I will see you guys again next week, and we will have those docs available for you, and I'll give you my phone number. And just want you guys to know, we pray for you every day. We miss you and love you, and I wish I could give you like a real hug right now. See you later. Bye.